Good morning, everybody. I feel so grateful to be here today, and I just feel through the music and the welcome, as I always do in here, but I'm feeling it in my heart today. Great gratitude for being here with all of you. Thank you. When every time Unity asks me to speak, the topic seems so far ahead. Like I'm always kind of trying to figure things out, like kind of last minute. That's been my habit up until now. And I don't realize until I say yes to it that this is something that I, again, really need. So today, as we talk about this idea of I relax into and enjoy the process of transformation, I didn't realize, oh, there's going to be lots of good, juicy stuff happening here for me and through me as a result of it. So thank you for that too. Um, I I love the idea of quantum leaps. They feel like magic. They feel like alchemy and wonder and awe, and they feel like grace. But when I really follow the breadcrumbs backward from the experience, I realize that the transformation has involved a lot of tiny, seemingly uninfluential moment by moment decisions. Jean Houston talked about the trim tab, and that just ignited my imagination years ago when she talked about this tiny mechanism at the bottom of the ship. And it says, in the middle of all of the engine room, there's this tiny little trim tab that when you turn it even a millimeter, that ship goes in a completely different destination. And so that is something that I would like to really address today. This idea that we are consciously, constantly in a state of transformation. And the more conscious that we become of it, the more aware we become of it, the more we get to decide that destination. And we also get to accept. So it feels a bit like a paradox. On one hand, I'm busy visioning and I'm busy creating this world in my imagination, this blueprint. And on the other hand, I'm sitting back and allowing what shows up to show up for me. So as we'll explore the idea of transformation as an everyday ordinary practice after making a firm decision, deciding for transformation. Every one of us who's sitting here has decided for transformation, for growth, for a greater experience of life. And once that decision is made, everything unlike it is going to show up. Welcome what's been unwelcome. We begin to experience a greater freedom in living. So we get clear about what we love, we decide for it, and then we allow it the way it is to unfold to just unfold. Make that sound easy. When I say yes to transformation, I'm making a firm decision for life, capital L. The way I imagine Jesus meant it when he said, I came that you might have life and have it abundantly. And it all sounds wonderful, and it is. The sticking point for me has been the part in the affirmation that says, and that was just this recent kind of awareness when Bob reached out, the affirmation says, I relax into and enjoy the process of transformation. I was like, oh boy, yeah, okay. So then I began to be really aware that relaxing into and enjoying it is not something that I'm practiced with yet. Transformation, yes. Relax and enjoy, not so much. In fact, life has been very interesting these past weeks from overcommitting, traveling, renovating, visiting friends, attending a wedding, health challenges with friends and right inside our house, technology just being itself, and the joyful expectation of officiating my daughter's wedding next weekend. Yay! Oh, and that has been so beautiful and so wonderful to think about. Interviewing the kids and learning more about them and their love story and all of those things. And there's this little piece of me that was feeling kind of nervous because it's going to be the first time in over 25 years that I will have seen some of her dad's family. So there's a part of me that was like, oh my goodness, my 21-year-old self came right out and said, you got to be thin. You got to look good. And of course, all of these things that kind of run through the mind, our old paradigms, the old beliefs about who we think we should be and how we should show up to look. And so these are all the things that have been playing around with me in the last little while. Thank you. It's all inside out. Thank you. But I realized that an old house guest that I hadn't seen in well over 10 years had arrived and brought its friends in for the party. And that house guest was anxiety. There was a part of me that was starting to feel frozen and stuck in place with all the inner systems kind of revved up and spinning. Now, in the past, my strategy had been to vehemently ignore, and I would turn this visitor away at the door. Sometimes I'd bar it with every bit of furniture I had in the house. And another story for another day showed me that that didn't work so well. I did receive from that other experience true and lasting transformation. But the sticking point again, relaxing and enjoying, was nowhere near that experience. So now what? Noticing. Okay, there you are. Noticing that that anxiety has returned. And decide for the transformation. So noticing it, and oftentimes I just say to it, oh, there you are. There you are. After that the initial resistance that wants to come up. Breathe. Remember who I am. And welcome it in. Check in with my heart's desire. What would I really love? And then endeavor to be that. Repeat. So it's this cycle of kind of watching and not letting go, knowing that it's important enough to address it when we get those signals. Mary Morrissey will call that soul signals. In the past, it was a signal for me to get working harder at something, put my head down further and try my best to try to show up in a way that is right, that it could kind of move away from that feeling. And as we move into this newer idea, we move into this idea of welcoming. And it's so cool how, like, I felt my heart opening through this whole opening, because even the morning word that when you were speaking, that idea of knowing that when I am or when I'm not, it's all still there. So I wanted to share the guest house with you. I know you're probably familiar with it, but we'll bring it to mind in context of what I'm talking about today. Because the guest house by Rumi, like all things spiritually transformative, is easier said than done. And like all things spiritually transformative, it's worth every effort. When you have decided who you would love to be and trust that everything shows up for you, is this becoming? So here's Rumi, as translated by Coleman Barks. The guest house. This, being human, is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. It really, really helps me to think about Rumi as a human being, because I've always kind of had, when I read his poems, you feel that elevation inside and you're just like, whoa, he can't have been real. But this poem lets me see that he was as real as you and I, that all of those guests were part of his experience as well. And yet they became a part of that spiritual expansion that we still enjoy all these centuries later. So, invitation. What guests have turned up at your door this week? Or yesterday, or even this morning, that may or may not have felt consciously invited? And with compassion and curiosity, what have you noticed? How did it feel? This is a big one lately for me. What did you make it mean? Has it moved in for a much longer stay? Has it become a part of an older story? Has it brought relatives? Insomnia, in my case, and overthinking? Or did it move in and through you? Are you willing to make it welcome? What would you love to truly experience? These days, for me, there's nothing too small or too uncomfortable that's not worth exploring. It's part of this larger commitment to be more and more of who I already am as a unique expression of life, with the only thing I have right now, which is this breath, this moment. And since I've decided for transformation and expansion, then just noticing can be enough to stop it. Or when I can get curious about it, it feels even better. And when I know that it is for me, that the gift has to be there, I can feel myself shift into another, more expansive perspective of life or field of awareness. And it all starts with a decision to say yes. So I call yes kind of sacred, to choose again, no matter what. The story of the paralytic man waiting by the pools of Bethesda, it really speaks to me on so many different levels, but today I want to focus on the idea of willingness when feeling stuck. Because anxiety for me is a feeling of being stuck. I'm a deer in the headlights, and everything in my body is telling me I should do something, but I'm just kind of in that turmoil. So this idea of being stuck, and I think the experience of healing is sort of a byproduct of it. Kind of like coming today on Sunday, deciding to be here in this space with these people in this expansive conscious decision of living as a vibration of love. That decision has other effects that multiply and amplify throughout your life and throughout your week. And so thinking about this story, thinking about Jesus, the master teacher, he never saw anyone as a victim because he knew who we are. But he would hold the vibration of compassion. But when he came upon the 5 pools, there was a crowd that was gathered who believed that the angel of God rippled across the water. And the first one who could get into the pool, I could just imagine this having taught kids all those years, the first one to get into the pool would be healed. Yay! I could just see what's going on the sidelines as that's all happening. But when Jesus approached the man who'd been lying beside one of the pools for 38 years, he didn't begin by offering healing. He asked, would you be healed? Now, I can just imagine what a mark came up in the man's eyes when he heard that question. Like, what do you mean? I'm sitting here on a cot for 38 years. So, what he did is he started telling Jesus about all the reasons why he couldn't. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's just like me. I was busy, listing all the reasons why I'm, in this state at this point of time. Each of us has been paralyzed by some doubt, rejection, betrayal, or story of what's happened before. For each of us, this question would be worth asking. Sometimes we become so identified with our circumstances that change feels more frightening than staying the same. And it's not our fault. This is another biggie recently in my awareness because, we're talking about thoughts and we're powerful and we have control over them. And yet we're immersed, we're swimming in this world of humanity and history and time and space and experiences that are unique to each of us. And so many of our ideas and beliefs have been placed there before, and we don't say that with blame. It's just we're not aware of it. We're not aware of that habitual tune that's sometimes deep under the surface until we claim and name our soul's desire. Like we listen to that still small voice. What is it seeking to have me express right now? And when we name and claim it with courage, imagine 38 years on the cot, by the pool, watching people splashing around and fighting to get into the middle of it. Now I have to step in and live, capital L. It's a change. Although Jesus had compassion for the condition, he knew the condition was not bigger than the power within the person. And he was asking whether he would be willing to become someone new. To be that. To be life fully lived. And that's where transformation begins every day. Every day, life asks us the same question. Do I truly want the life my soul is calling me toward? Would I be healed? Just going to ask for a moment to take a deep breath. We'll just take a little pause in my talking. And now move the breath into your heart. And with no judgment, just whatever comes first to your heart. What is your heart most telling you that you most want to be right now? What would you love? And if you're able to take that thought into even one word that resonates as divine for you, what would you love? Are you willing to be what you say you want? With everything you have available to you right now, would you be the person experiencing that? Like the man in the cot, each one of us is already experiencing life. We're breathing air. We're here on the planet. Pick up your bed and walk. Are you willing to be the person you want? Would you practice being that while doing ordinary things every day, moment by moment? For me, these past few weeks, my greatest desire has been peace and presence. Peace and presence. So that when I am experiencing something other than that, I can pivot into, oh, yes, I've claimed peace and presence. I'd like to share, my broad list of conditions of why peace and presence was a bit of a challenge. I'd like to share one tiny bit, literally maybe 10 minutes out of my life over the last few weeks. But it's an example of using what comes in a way that is in recognition of what I've named and claimed. Peace and presence, but before that, layering on top of it, transformation, like truly feeling that shift inside of myself so that I can show up and be who I say I would love to be. So this year, I met and have been working with the most wonderful, heart centered, truly caring, aware, patient, professional web host and designer. And this is after years and a lot of money invested in others since starting my business about 5 years ago. Over the years, it felt like there were walls around me, like a mime. Like they're invisible, but there they are. All these walls about why I couldn't kind of proceed with technology and all the fears I had around it and all of that stuff. And then along came Meg of Vita Consulting. She is trained in the same coaching training as I am, and she has a passion for supporting others to share their gifts. Her pricing is fair. She always delivers more than is expected. She makes short little videos for me that are personalized to scaffold for me so that I can feel some sense of independence. And she answers texts and she responds quickly, and there's no question that's too small for her. There's no expiry date on how many times I may ask the same question. In short, she's the answer to my vision in that little part of my vision. And she is what I thought I believed about people in general. So that's a little lead up to the wake up call. So a few weeks ago, I was humming along with my head down and giving myself lots of things to worry about. And in the middle of it, Meg and I had reached a place that I'd never reached before in this website processing. And I started to see my vision of this dream of creating service through it realized. All I had to do was my part and send her the bits that she requested. And the night before our meeting, I knew I wasn't going to be able to offer anything to it. The dog had eaten my homework. So I sent her a text saying I wouldn't be attending. I set a new date early in September. And then I paid for the hour that she could have booked with someone else. And when I did, I noticed a tiny pinch because summer's a time when insurance comes due and I had to pay my taxes and I could see the dwindling bank account and having to borrow out of my personal account and all of that. So I had my little pinch there. But then I received an invoice for twice as much as my usual hourly fee. So every alarm button went off inside of me. Every time I'd been disappointed with tech support ran through my body, and all the stories that I'd made up about myself in business and what a victim I was and all those things were just like an instant poof, out it come. And I immediately reacted with a quick little text to say, I don't think I can meet on the day in September. Because I felt like, oh my gosh, I probably won't be able to do that. I won't be able to meet those expectations. I needed more time for all of that. And what if the rates have gone up? How am I supposed to sustain that additional cost? Like, I went into a full blown, like, oh my gosh. And then breath. And the air went right out of my balloon. And I went, oh. Just because I didn't do my homework didn't mean she didn't do hers. and she likely put in far more time than the hour that she invoiced me for. So I had a decision to make. Number one, there's a realization, and it went through the layers of what are the belief systems, not the least of which is trusting myself, others, and the universe. So I could stay on my bed of despair at my luck with figuring out tech and spending more than it's worth, or I could welcome the discomfort of that moment. And with a deep breath of courage, I called Meg, and we had a wonderful, affirming conversation together. And I learned so much about the beliefs that have been holding me in place around this one little part of my life. And actually, it's more than one little part, isn't it? That idea of faith and trust in myself and others and the universe itself. So, getting curious about the constrictive feelings and the fear that popped up brought a greater understanding and clarity for how I decide to move forward in relationships of all kinds. I get to live into life with a tiny bit more freedom than I had before this experience. And for me, that's everyday transformation. So, what's next? Thanks to Unity and your affirmation of the month, I truly welcome the idea of relaxing into and enjoying the process of transformation. Since I have claimed a sacred yes to that, it's so it is. And for you and me, another guest will arrive. Probably today. And although we won't get to choose everyone who knocks, we always get to choose who comes to the door. Thank you. And so it is.